Hi, my name's Joy. I live in Ottawa. I'm 66 years old now, but I was 63 at the time that all of what happened to me is that I'm going to tell you about now. So I was working full time. I had no medical diagnoses of any kind. I wasn't on any meds. Everything seemed to be fine, except that I had come off about a decade of a very stress-filled life. The only thing that I noticed about 8 months before I ended up being hospitalized was that it was hard to go up the stairs. I would get winded after one flight, but I chalked that up to getting older, not exercising enough, even though I had a trainer at the time, and also I had excess weight. So fast forward to about a week before I was hospitalized, I still didn't have any idea that I was sick, how sick I was. I made an appointment with a doctor. I didn't have a family doctor, but I made an appointment with a doctor. And when I went in to see him, I had to park 2 blocks away, and I had to stop 14 times on the way to the doctor's office to rest. So I was very winded. I came into the office and I was just gasping for air. I thought I had walking pneumonia. He looked me over, gave me a puffer, told me to go and get some tests. I did those things. And for the next 5 days, I was basically in hell. I couldn't sleep at all. I was sitting straight up in a chair and sort of leaning forward on the back of it because I couldn't lie down. And every time I would drop off, I would sort of jerk awake. So I wasn't getting any sleep. And I felt like I was drowning from the inside. My lungs were filling up with fluid. So that's why I thought it was walking pneumonia. Luckily, I'd gone to a naturopath about a month before because I wasn't feeling good, and I was going on a cleanse to lose some weight. And she had hooked me up with a nurse practitioner. I had a telephone appointment with the nurse practitioner the morning that I ended up in the hospital, and I called her, and she listened to me, and she said, I told her my story, take the puffer. If after an hour nothing has happened, get to the hospital. Sounds like heart failure. I can hear it over the phone. So this is the first I'd ever heard of anything about heart failure. So I did that. I took the puffer and I drank 4 glasses of cleansing juice, cucumber, celery, spring water, and ate a pickle. Great for a cleanse, horrible for heart failure. What ended up happening was I couldn't breathe at all and I had to call the ambulance. So I ended up in the hospital. And when I got there, I was diagnosed with class 3 New York NYHA congestive heart failure with an ejection fraction of less than 20%. What that meant was my heart was fluttering so rapidly and so erratically and not actually pumping much blood that they couldn't even get my pulse on the machines. It was so weak. So that's medical code for I was basically almost dead. And my toes, they were like little sausages. Everything had puffed up, my toes, my feet, my legs, because my kidneys were no longer getting rid of the fluid. So I was filling up with fluid. 8 days later and 26 pounds of water weight lighter, and now on 8 brand new meds, I was sent home. But I was really scared because I knew that I couldn't even cross the street, let alone go grocery shopping. That would have been way too much effort. So I had to do takeout, and I did drive home groceries. I live alone, so I didn't have supports in place. And that lasted for a couple of months while they sorted out the meds, and I went to a whole bunch of post-hospitalization medical appointments. The one saving grace was that I was on the remote heart monitoring program, because apparently there's a high recidivism rate for heart failure. You end up in the hospital a lot. So I had to take my weight, my blood pressure, and my pulse every morning. It was phoned in, and if the slightest thing was wrong, I got a call from a nurse. My cardiologist also booked me for an emergency sleep study, which I got within a few weeks. And they said my sleep was being interrupted 37 times an hour, which is very dangerous. You're not even allowed to drive with that. And within a week, I got a CPAP machine and then a permanent one shortly after that, even though there was a worldwide shortage of those machines during COVID. So I was very lucky. Meanwhile, I was waiting for the cardio rehab program to kick in. Takes 6 months. So I decided to start my own mini exercise program, but they told me that I couldn't go to the pool by myself. So I recruited my daughter as a fitness buddy, and I went to the pool 3 times a week, and I walked around in the shallow end for 5 minutes, and that was exhausting enough. Eventually it was 10 minutes, then it was 15, and eventually I could swim a lap. So this is a far cry from who I used to be, which was I was a lap swimmer. So anyway, fast forward a couple of months, I was with the cardiologist who was doing intake on cardio rehab, and I was telling him about my swimming, and he suspected because of that maybe my heart was already back in sinus rhythm. So he whisked me off to my own cardiologist that same afternoon. And sure enough, it was. So they canceled the cardioversion operation for the following week. And I started off with cardio rehab, and that really kicked off my healing journey full time. I took advantage of everything that was offered. I saw a dietitian, I saw a social worker, I did the cyber monitoring, I did the cardio rehab, I did the Women at Heart peer support program, and I went to all my medical appointments. I wrote down everything. I religiously recorded. I took my meds. I did everything everybody told me to do, and I read and reread everything they gave me at the hospital and afterwards, because frankly, I didn't absorb much when I was in the hospital. I really loved cardio rehab because that was the first place where I was not afraid anymore. I realized that it was possible to exercise. I was really scared before that. And I joined a gym. I learned how to eat really differently. I used the software MyFitnessPal to record my calories, my macros, and especially sodium and fluids. And I dropped another 30 pounds as a result, and I've kept that off ever since. And I still go to the gym 5 to 8 times a week, and I do all of those other things. Takeout and restaurant food at this point are pretty much off the menu because there's way too much salt in them. I eat very differently now, although I always did eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. So, and I've learned how to cook using interesting spices, but no salt. I meditate regularly, and I drastically altered my lifestyle. So I eliminate all of the stress-inducing factors that were in my life. The Women at Heart peer support program is where I learned that the average person who exits from the hospital in the state that I was in lives only 2.5 years. I didn't know this right away, thankfully. But when I found out, I freaked out. I realized I have to punch way above average if I want to stick around. So that really motivated me. And since then, I'm coming up on 3 years since my heart failure experience. My cardiologist at my last appointment essentially fired me. I'm only allowed to come once a year now. 2 of my meds have been removed, and the third one has been reduced, so I'm down to 5. I feel great. I really want to live a long time. And I know that for that to happen, I still have to keep up all these habits that I've created on a daily basis. It is chronic. It is progressive. I still have heart failure, but I also have quality of life. And I really want that for you too. And that's why I'm telling you this story. Thanks.